He wanted much more than the land. He proclaimed that he wanted to be the ruler of the cosmos. He wanted to take over the universe. If you want to take over the cosmos, if you want to sit at the throne of the cosmos, then whose throne are you trying to take? After he made that proclamation, he went out to war again, but he didn't return, and his body was never found. And in the ancient Mesopotamian culture, that meant that he was cursed to wander the earth forever. To fully understand where we're going, you have to understand what a spirit is. A spirit is, in essence, a form, a collection of attributes that make something what it is. But then you have to understand what a matrix is. And if you look at the etymology of matrix, it's a mater, a womb, a medium or structure in which something develops. Everything in existence comes from a womb, a medium or structure in which it develops, and the essence lives within the womb. And through that matrix, it will manifest into physical form. This is the philosophy of order. It gets much deeper. I just don't have time. Now, some of you are about to leave because you're like, well, tell me, what is his name? I know this is a microwave generation. This is the king, Sargon II. But what's the big deal? This man is the physical incarnation of Lucifer. That's right. To fully understand why this is important, you have to understand what Athtar is. Athtar is a Canaanite god who wanted to sit in the throne of the Most High. Sometimes his brother's throne, Baal, and sometimes Yahweh. Athtar wanted to sit on the throne, so he stole that throne and he sat on it, but the throne was too big for him. He fought for the throne and all this, but when he sat there, he realized it was far too big. He was small. So he fell from this throne, down to earth or the underworld, and cursed to roam it. Now remember, a spirit is an essence. An essence is a collection of attributes of earth forever. All three of them are son of the dawn. And we can't forget that their pride made cursed to roam the earth forever.
I'm sorry. He's starting to say some things it wasn't too interested in. But it was the main part about the birth, the womb. And I got something else I want y'all to hear that he says.
Fight and conquer for that throne, but in the end they're humiliated and they fall, and then they're cursed to roam the earth forever. All three of them are also known as the Shining Ones, son of the dawn. And we can't forget that their pride made them think that they could sit on the throne of the cosmos or the universe, the highest throne, the most highest throne. The first time Lucifer was ever mentioned in the Bible, who was Lucifer? What king was it? I'll let you do your own research. If you're interested in more of this abstract history, read World War God's Biography of Yahweh. The free audiobook is in a link tree at the top of the page. It should...
Okay. This is what I want to say. When you speak of the womb, when he started speaking about that, because everything comes from a womb, like that's why he brought up Matrix. When you remember the movie Matrix, they showed these people in wombs with no body, but just wombs. And I started thinking, I remember about the time, I remember some years ago when I started figuring out, well, the Bible tells you they're going to mess with the time. Because they're telling you that we've been here millions and billions of years. But when you really read to the detail, because a lot of these things, these videos I see, they get their information from other books. But at the same time, if you're understanding what you're reading in the Bible, you will see that same shit. Because, like, when he said that Satan was a king, and think about it. If he was a king, that means Satan was not locked down. I read that too, and I was... Because in the Bible, in the Old Testament, those kings was falling demons. They were considered God called them gods. The Creator called the falling demons gods. People were going to worship them. They were going to be, that's why he called them gods. And if you remember, when Israel wanted a king, he said, you don't need a king. The thing was, we supposed to be a light unto the Gentiles. Why are we trying to follow them by wanting a king? Because all of the kings was falling demons and they had kingdoms. And one of the kings was called Tyson. And that king, when you read the Bible and pull up his name of who he was the falling. He was Satan. Satan and these demons have been here so long until they keep changing their names. That's why he in there, when you think they're speaking of the Creator, talking about God is of many names. They're talking about Satan, because there are many gods. You have to know what God is they're talking about when they speak on things. And one thing about the Bible, This is how this is one thing I noticed. I haven't heard nail pastor all these years I grew up in the church and all these different churches. I never heard nail pastor read the verse in there in the Old Testament. I wish I could remember where it was at and what book and all that, because some of y'all just y'all kills me. Read the whole book. Read every sentence. One verse said, "You will not understand His word. You will not understand that Bible." Put it that way. The stories and all of that, if you do not know His laws. The laws, when they say precept for precept, line for line, those precepts, which are the laws, the lines is the scripture, the stories they're telling, it has to match up with the laws. If it's something that doesn't match up with those laws, they added it. Or sometimes it might be a story they got in there, but they didn't add the law. They added and subtracted to that book. And how you figure out the adding and subtracting to the book is by precept for precept, line for line. It has to add up. Has to add up. And then once you read it to knowing who's who, because when people speak of gods, they're not speaking of the God of Israel. They're not speaking of the Creator. They're speaking of fallen demons that they worship. But anyway, that's why you had like the Canaanites that he mentioned. The Canaanites were of the bloodline of Cain. When you remember, you read the Bible, he speaks of, I'm flooding out the bloodline of Cain, because Cain's bloodline was of Satan. Satan was his father. All these books, even the books they took out, even those books is a puzzle. Just because they took those books out don't mean that book, and then you read those books, it reads the same way Shakespeare wrote. King James Version. It's the same type of writing, which means Shakespeare untouched it, which means you have to still diagnose those books they took out. But this is my point. Women. Everything starts from the womb. They keep trying to say that man was first and then woman. We came from a rib. No, we did not. We was first. Eve can automatically produce a child. But Eve produced a child with the Creator. That was Adam. In the beginning of time, they had incest. Then once they populated enough, that's when the Creator came with the laws, the sex laws, to stop the incest, because you repopulated enough. Everybody got all these questions because they left stuff out for you to question. They left stuff out so they can fill it in for you with their lies. It's all about the woman. Other countries know when that book mentions church, is mentioning the church stands for the woman. When it comes to time, when it comes to the months and the years, it's all about the woman. It's only 9 months in a year. We have 9 months of pregnancy. They're only supposed to be no more than about 28 days in every month. All these 29s and 28 or 30 or 31, that's messing with the time. We don't know how long we've been here in this slavery. Think about it. Women, our menstrual come on every month. Every month, once a month. Time is based off the woman. In that month, that's what, if all women, not just that, 7-day menstrual. Not all women have 7-day menstrual. But I think if they took a statistic on all women who have 7-day menstrual, and when those women menstrual come back on, that's the true time of how many days supposed to be in a month. And the months that you hold a child is the true time of how many months in the year. Think about it. Because when you have a child, when they're being born, we don't really count the time of them being born until they're born. But when it comes down to it, they're really here in your stomach for 9 months. So that's time right there we didn't add to life. But right now, we don't even know how old we really are because they mess with the time. 7 days a week, 7-day menstrual that the Bible speaks of that we're supposed to have. 28 days, 9 months. How old are you really?